Hello ladies and gentlemen, hope you're all well today. Today we're going to talk about the lockdown measures that are going to be taking place in Scotland. Okay, so we're going to start going through this article that came out in the Sun today. A Scotland-wide mini lockdown to tackle a rise in COVID cases will start at 7 p.m. this Friday, doctors have been told. Nicola Sturgeon confirmed an announcement on a circuit breaker centred on a stay-at-home order for a fortnight or more could come in tomorrow. Why Nicola Sturgeon hasn't jumped at this a lot sooner, I don't know. So far it's mostly only been parts of England and Wales who've been mostly affected. But an NHS source says they have been told the mini lockdown will start on Friday, being 6th of October today, Tuesday. 697 new cases were confirmed today, spread throughout different parts of Glasgow, as you can see. It comes as Jason Leach told BBC Scotland 7 days that a circuit breaker could deliver a short, sharp shock to the R number. Whether that will really make a difference, because once they've had the first 2 weeks mini lockdown, the circuit breaker, will it really actually break the circuit though? Or will it just be, well, that kind of works, so let's just keep doing that perhaps, as they seem to be doing everywhere else. So, next bit here. A Surrey hospital is on lockdown after a coronavirus outbreak hits its intensive care and renal wards. Ambulances have been diverted from A&E to St Helena Hospital with a major investigation launched. Hospital bosses have placed the site in partial lockdown, restricting visitors and diverting emergency ambulances from its A&E unit. The infections were discovered over the weekend at St Helier Hospital in Sutton, Surrey. So, again, they are stopping people from going near hospitals, which does seem to be a major problem. Why they don't just use these Nightingale hospitals or section off different wards, really, just for the coronavirus, rather than having to take whole hospitals down, or A&E departments, because at the minute nobody can really go to A&E unless they ring up first, it seems. So here, human rights lawyers blast Sturgeon's lockdown. In a joint article, human rights advocate Niall McCluskey and former tribunal judge Christian McNeil claimed the impact was worse than the virus. As I'm pretty sure most people have actually seen, what this lockdown is actually doing is far worse than the actual illness, really. They claim the effect on the economy, civil rights, mental health, addictions, domestic abuse, and the NHS are becoming disproportionate to the infection risk, which I reckon it definitely is. They wrote, the question arises, why did the government do this? The answer might be that having conducted a highly effective psychological fear project against the population, restrictions are really popular. In the government's eyes, it does seem to be very popular. In the general public, it doesn't seem to be very healthy mentally, to be honest with you. A vicious circle has been created where a terrified population rewards unwarranted government restrictions with positive poll numbers. NHS sources said doctors in Glasgow have been told to expect the stay-at-home order to kick in at 7 p.m. on Friday. Next bit then. Shut bars and restaurants to keep schools and universities open. Which the schools and universities definitely need to be open, but really, I mean, bars and restaurants do need to be open. People need to eat, drink and socialise. And they need to stay in business. People need their jobs. Speaking on BBC Radio 4's Today programme, Professor Neil Ferguson of Imperial College London said that with schools and universities open, ways needed to be found to reduce contacts in other areas such as closing hospitality venues, which, to be honest with you, in education settings at the minute, they really are not doing actually as much as they say to keep pupils and students apart. They're keeping them apart in the classrooms or lecture rooms or that. Everything's got to be wiped down all the time, everything's got to be cleaned. They're doing one-way systems, but at the same time, as soon as lessons are over or lectures are over, they are all mingling. They are not staying apart. So, is it having that much of an effect, really? Professor Ferguson added, so we are in a more difficult position. If we want to keep schools open, we have to reduce contacts in other areas of society by more. You will have heard measures being discussed across society as a whole, such as extended half terms, where we try to reduce transmission for concerted periods. I think these measures should be considered. The thing is, though, is half term goes on for a week, which is at the end of October now. If they extend that to 2 weeks, will it really make a much difference? I mean, school kids are going to go out locally and see their friends. Older kids then are going to want to meet up in, say, more towns and things like that, and they're going to go see their friends. Students, same thing again, really, and all of them are going to be going to see their family, probably, in the meantime. And if they got 2 weeks off instead of 1 week, they're just going to be doing what they would do at Christmas and see maybe family more, really. I mean, obviously younger kids will be. So, what is a circuit breaker lockdown? A so-called circuit breaker lockdown is among measures being considered by Nicola Sturgeon to curb the relentless spread of coronavirus. The concept of a circuit breaker lockdown was originally devised in Singapore, where the Prime Minister implemented the measure in April. It saw all but essential workplaces closed and restrictions imposed on restaurants and public spaces. A circuit breaker lockdown involves shorter lockdown bursts as opposed to a longer lockdown the country faced earlier this year. So if we're going to have to go in and out of lockdown all the time, is it really going to make any difference? More people are getting tested for it these days, so is it really going to cull the numbers, or is it going to be when things are open, the numbers are going to go up, and when there's local lockdowns or these circuit breaker lockdowns, will it sort of maybe stem it for a bit, but is it really just going to go on and off? And to be honest with you, who actually wants it? Here's an interesting bit. Nowhere safe. COVID idiot MP Margaret Ferrier gave a reading at a church service in Glasgow 24 hours after taking her test for her coronavirus symptoms. The shamed MP, suspended by the SNP, I was surprised to actually see she's been suspended, has refused to step down over a reckless 700-mile COVID-positive train trip. So she actually went from Scotland down to Parliament in London, back home again. But in the meantime, she visited a beauty salon, gym and gift shop on the day she took a COVID test on September the 26th, before catching a Glasgow to London train last Monday. She then travelled back home on the Tuesday, so she obviously spent the night in London, despite receiving a positive test result. So even though she actually did the test and got the result, she clearly didn't see the point in actually taking the measures seriously, which makes you wonder why she bothered taking the test, perhaps. Now it has emerged she attended a public mass at St Mungo's Catholic Church in Townhead on Monday, September the 27th, the day after developing symptoms and booking a test. So, apart from actually getting a positive test result, she actually had the symptoms. So, no matter what illness it was, she actually knew she was ill and still went to church. So, COVID second wave could cause tsunami of NHS cancelled ops, as pretty much everybody's heard about actually so far. There's loads of people who haven't been able to get operations, treatment, diagnosis, all sorts, and loads of cancer patients really, and potential cancer patients have had to go without loads of things. And also children as well. I mean, the other week there was I think 2 hospitals in London, I believe, where they were turning kids away just in case COVID patients came in and they wanted to keep the spaces empty. Which, I mean, when you start turning kids away from a hospital, it says a lot, really. So, the tsunami of the NHS cancelled ops Leading surgeons in England are warning of a tsunami of cancelled operations this winter as the NHS deals with surging numbers of COVID-19 patients, calling it a national crisis. The Royal College of Surgeons of England said it doubted the NHS could meet targets of planned procedures. So there's going to be tons of people who have been on waiting lists. And I mean, some of the waiting lists, I think most waiting lists really are at least 18 months. 18 months, you go for anything and it's wait 18 months. See how far down the list you are for it then, really. But an NHS spokesman said figures cited by the organisation underestimated the amount of surgery taking place. But at the same time, there are surgeries that do need to go ahead. There are people waiting for these things. There's been people on waiting lists who do generally just need surgeries done of all sorts of things. Since way before this virus was even released really in the world or Britain or anywhere really. So there's lots of people who do genuinely need surgeries. So here's something interesting. Coronavirus survives many hours on human skin. The discovery was made by researchers who conducted lab experiments on cadaver skin that could otherwise have been used for skin grafts. So there again, something that could have actually been used in a surgery, someone who could have needed it, and it's being used for this by the Chinese virus that was released upon us when it could have been used for other things. So, while influenza A virus survived less than 2 hours on human skin, the novel coronavirus survived more than 9 hours on the human skin. We all know if a cough or sneeze or whatever, if it goes on your skin, you've got germs on your skin. That's just a given, really. Everybody already knows that, which is, the whole point they've been going on and on about washing your hands all the time. Both were completely inactivated within 15 seconds by hand sanitizer containing 80% alcohol, which is pretty much the standard that they've been selling, which a lot of the hand sanitizer they've been selling has been 70 or 80% alcohol anyway. So, you can just get rid of the germs quickly anyway. It comes as the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC obviously, said there was evidence that people with COVID-19 possibly infected others who were more than 6 feet away within enclosed spaces with poor ventilation, and it was found that viruses in aerosols can remain in the air for hours, even though a lot of things in aerosols are water-based, so a lot of them do sink very quick. Okay, so there is actually more to this article. There is, quite a lot more as it goes through the entire timeline. But the last bit I'm going to read out now of it is Scotland's mini lockdown. So, a little bit of a summary. Nicola Sturgeon could announce the circuit breaker COVID restrictions today, Tuesday the 6th of October, but said it may not be like March's full lockdown. The First Minister warned more virus curbs may be needed in Scotland ahead of a government review amid soaring cases. Ms Sturgeon said current rules could be tightened as a further 697 positive cases were confirmed overnight. Most of them, as we know, are being down to more people being tested. The more tests you have done, the more positive cases, which I'm pretty sure the negative cases are actually going up as well because of the amount done. Stop doing as many tests and the numbers will start to fall. The SNP boss said harsher guidelines to halt the spread of the killer bug would not be imposed lightly, as she urged Scots to follow restrictions which are in place at the moment. Now, at the moment, Scotland have got a ton of restrictions on them anyway. Whether they're even in lockdown, full lockdown, local lockdown, which I think there's only really a little bit of southern Scotland actually in local lockdowns. But apart from that, the SNP are imposing many other restrictions on Scots at the minute anyway.